That's the you. Mhm. Trying to unmute you. You guys hear me? I can't hear you. You might be on mute. Hello, everybody. We are having a very special show tonight. Tonight we are going to talk about the marriage grid, and once again, want to thank everybody for their support with the show. But before we go too much further, I want to say thank you to the producer of the track that you are currently listening to, a very good friend of mine, Mike Clemens, a great producer here in Delaware. I also have to thank my son, Demir, who did the photography on the splash that you just saw prior to this, and then also my son-in-law, Mr. Robert Edwards Morris, who designed the logo that you see. Today, we are diving into something very special for me, and talking to two very special people who I believe that you will find, as I have, to be invaluable to you as well. So, we're going to talk about the marriage grid. We're going to talk to Mr. and Mrs. Robert and Tawana Peterson. Hold on, let me see if I can get them in. They're in our green room right now. Let me see if Mr. and Mrs. Robert and Tawana Peterson. How are you?
Good. How are
Very good.
you?
Good, good, good. Awesome. Hey, listen, I can't say enough about you guys. I know each of you to be intelligent and bright and forward thinking, and entrepreneurs, and always, I'm mad at both of y'all because y'all show up so well in the room, like all the time. You know, I have not been able to match Mr. Peterson's swag here, um, but I'm trying. I'm trying. Um, Tell us about the marriage grid. What was its inspiration? What inspired you to do this, and what's the mission?
So 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 the inspiration of the marriage group was just us, right? It was just us. Um, we got married very, very young, and we've always had the desire, to be human service people and just to be a blessing to people. And we realized early on that when we decided to get married at the early age of 21 years old, 20, just turning 21 years old, um, I cannot say, I'll be lying if I say we had a lot of direct haters, because we did not. We did have some folks that said perhaps you guys should think about it for a while and wait a little bit before you do, but no one really said to us, no, you should not get married. No one said that, and I can appreciate that. But everyone was genuine and real in their conversation, and we both have experience, just from a personal perspective, and watching our parents in their marriage and the ebbs and flows of relationship. And we said to ourselves, what can we do to take couples along the journey of what it means to really master wedlock, right? That was the idea. And I want to just provide, and I wrote it down some years ago as we were just brainstorming the marriage grit. And I want to, and we'll tell you what it does mean something, right? So grit, as you know, see it, grit is gratitude, resilience, integrity, and tenacity is what the acronym for grit is. And the person that created Myra, that helped us create this um, logo, it was intentional. We didn't want to have, yes, we're talking about marriage. We didn't want to have, the pinks to be specific to the female, but we wanted to have something that really spoke to the union. And realize, and we'll talk more, about the definition of it and how it came to be, because it is a grind about relationship. And as we talk about further to the discussion, we can talk about what the logo really means to us and why it looks like it looks in this four-letter word called work. But I want to share this with you, and it was a definition that we came up with some time ago. The marriage grit: an internalized resilience coupled with grave desire, fueled by individualized determination, perseverance, intentional love, and endurance, for the collaborative union of one. Again, read one more time. An individualized resilience coupled with grave desire, fueled by individualized determination, perseverance, intentional love, and endurance for the collaborative union of one.
Wow, that's awesome. Um, I heard you say something about um, individualized. Um, I mean, am I getting it right when I'm thinking um, that it's an individual? It's upon each individual in the marriage to step up, step forward, be present. Um, it, is that what that means, or is there something more?
I'll tell you what. Let me pause for a second before Juan answers that question, because it does mean a lot.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you, Kevin Kirby, for and I got just kind of jumped off because I just we love to talk about relationships and marriage. But my guy, I appreciate you inviting us onto this show. I love the platform and what you're doing. I always love to see you in different spaces, man. And we appreciate what you bring to the table and the skill sets that you have. We talked before we joined in about some other stuff you got going on. And man, you are the man of many talents, many trades. And we thoroughly appreciate you and the man you've become, and even your relationship, the foundation you've laid for people like us to continue grinding in this thing called marriage. Um,
I got a wife too.
Yeah.
I gotta find every single way I can to keep my good thing, my good thing, and
Absolutely.
it has been this has been a it's been on my heart, my mind for many years, to do something. I wanted to offer something um, to the world that could be more informational, that could be more useful than just some laughs and some good times. Uh,
Mhm.
I just wanted to put it, I want to have this create a platform. So many people like you, I speak to so many couples um, who, are finding this marriage thing a bit challenging. And
Mhm.
so I wanted to try to create something that gave them footstep movements toward making it better. And I love what you said about the grid is individualized resilience, right?
Mhm.
A
correct,
a
correct.
commitment to make that work. The ups and the downs and the ebbs and the flows. When I think about my dad, I always hear him kind of saying, don't work up to it, work through it.
Yes.
So
Correct.
talk to me about that individualized resilience.
Yes.
So I'm going to touch on that part. I'm going to pass the baton to Tawana. I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
Because I am so passionate about this particular definition of it. And Tawana's going to take over because she has her specialty, things that she talks about in a relationship. But
Okay.
we talked about individualize. Um, People talk about marriage being work, and utilize the term work. And if we give the analogy, if you see your friend you hadn't seen for a long time, and the last time you saw them, perhaps they just got married, or maybe they were maybe year 2 or year 5 of marriage. And the first thing they respond when you ask them, man, how's marriage? And the first thing people say, especially from the male's perspective, is that, man, marriage is work, right? Marriage is work. And let me share with you why we don't call marriage work. There is work involved in marriage, absolutely. But we've concluded that the foundation of our relationship is God. I can't think of anything different. I can't try to sugarcoat it. That's just what it is for us. So that's the foundation of what we do and why we do and how we survive and what we do. But the work that's involved in marriage is not the whole aspect of marriage. Marriage is not work, right? Marriage is thousands and thousands of experiences. The work that's involved in marriage is the individualized aspect, the work that we have to put in to adjust to our personal default setting to make the union work, right? That's the work that's involved in marriage because we're trying to become one. We're trying to master wedlock, which means from that perspective, there are some individual default settings that are used to being individuals. And to be an individual, you cannot make a union work. So it's consistently fighting or combating against that individual determination of what you want to do rather than what do we want to do, what's best for us. So the work that's involved in marriage is the individual aspect that we have to adjust to make the union work. And everything else throughout the relationship becomes experiences, tools to add to your toolbox to figure out what the next task is, the next experience is. That's the work that's involved in marriage and why it's individualized.
All right.
So, and I'm sorry.
No, I was saying it's.
Um,
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of Rob, and I wanted to say, from the door, I'm like, yes, you get it. You caught on to that word, that marriage is all about. Because we always hear about becoming one, the unions, two people coming together, becoming one, which is all true. And that individual piece, we cannot forget as we're becoming one to maintain who you were individually as opposed to conforming to what he thinks you should be or she thinks he should be and all that kind of stuff, but maintaining and figuring out who you are, how you're going to show up and be the best version of you that that person who saw you from the gate fell in love with, right? And rather than trying to find a point of finger at the things that are going wrong, and saying it's your fault or what have you, the way that you respond to the things that go wrong is individual work, individual reflection, and your individual choice on how you're going to help get through those moments together. So, individualism, if you will, is a very, very strong point and a very strong key in marriage because you always got to figure out how am I going to respond? What should I say? Look at you first, take it in first, apply things to you first before things come out. So thank you for getting it, thank you for catching it, and thank you for making this a point for people to remember. It is that individual work.
Nah, I listen. I get it. Thank you. This is this is great. T- I forgot my question. Um, um, how are we getting this message out? And is there a point of contact? I mean, for somebody who, like you said, is trying to work it out and looking for an answer and trying to get some, uh, maybe not direct counseling. I don't know what you guys call it, but just getting a hand on some information about how can I make my marriage better? How can I make the situation better? How can I be better? Okay.
Mhm.
How can I show up better for my wife? How can I show up better for my husband? Um, what are your thoughts? What is it that we're doing? How can somebody reach out? Where can somebody go? Um, um, as far as the marriage grid, is there a point of is there a reach out place, a website, or a person, or is there anything like that?
So we are currently we do have a Facebook and Instagram and also a YouTube page. Website is currently under construction. You know, we got updates and things and of that nature. But certainly, we do what we call the Driving Chronicles on Sundays. Um, you can always now it varies the time frame from when we get out of our service and what and our other obligations, but somewhere around noon or 1 o'clock on Sundays, we're giving nuggets on just organic conversation that comes up based on sometimes most times our curriculum, but other things that Rob has laid on his heart, and we just have candid conversation about those things and those topics. So people are more than welcome to find the Marriage Grit on Facebook, the Marriage Grit on Instagram, and I think it's consistent, even on YouTube, the Marriage Grit. And then DM us there or reach out and connect even more personally because we're about seeing people grow, seeing marriages last, helping them along the way because this is everyday, can be an everyday thing, a month to month thing, whatever you need to help you, survive each step. So anytime um, people want to connect, I know a friend who knows a friend who knows a friend kind of thing. Just reach out to them, get in touch with us, and we'll be there.
Well, thank you,
Right? Yeah.
Robert and Tawana. We're gonna dispel. We're gonna get rid of all these niceties. All right, y'all. You guys are great and awesome. I'm glad you told us about the marriage grid, and people have some footsteps. But I'm gonna get into your business just a little bit, right? Because obviously you have been through the marriage grind, okay, and how you made it from there to here. All right. And I'm going to start here and then we're going to work backwards just a little bit. Tell us where you are now. What is it that you do? How many kids do you have? Um, are you mad at each other right now? You working out something, right? We was just arguing this the other day. um, where are you now? What? Because I know you didn't you didn't start here, but I want to try to develop a story and try to help others to make it from where they are to have hope that it's possible. So, but let's start from where you are. What is it that you do?
So both of us are educators. We work in education, have been for a number of years, and for me, it was a career change several years ago, which is kind of part of our story and how we arrived to where we are. Things that we've learned through relationship, and it's also a wonderful story just for couples out there. But we're both professional educators right now. Twan has always been an educator from early childhood on up through the business. Um, and then we're also in ministry as well, supporting our ministry that's in Delaware. But we live in the Elkton, Maryland area. We've been married for this year actually be 30 years. Uh, August, yeah, be 30 years this year. We have
Wow.
5 amazing children that's thriving or from age 17 on up to age 28. So three beautiful daughters, one son who's the oldest, and our wonderful wonder. I say 3 or 4. Four.
He gonna make somebody mad.
4 daughters. We have 4 daughters. I was thinking fours at the 4 daughters and one son, one amazing son who's the oldest, and we have a beautiful 4-year-old granddaughter.
Wow. Now you said something earlier, right? Now I know it for my life because my wife and I got married very young as well. Okay, you guys got married when you were 21. Okay, um, talk to me about the journey from 21 to now. Now, tell us where you met first. You were Rob saw you across the room, and as a matter of fact, Rob, what was the first words? Well, I mean, where did you see her, and what were your first words to her?
So it's a story that I think we'll share the same on that. So
Okay.
we actually met in Providence, Rhode Island. So think about this. I'm from Delaware. Tawana's from Connecticut. We met on the campus in downtown Providence of Johnson and Wales University in Providence, Rhode Island. And the main strip in Providence was called Waybosset Street. Is called, that's right. Is called because in fact we actually just recently visited Waybosset Street. We took our two younger girls to where we actually met for the first time ever this past holiday season, Christmas season. So we actually met. I was actually walking into Subway's restaurant, and Tawana and her two friends were walking towards the same Subway's restaurant. And me being who I am, I was, I don't have the voice at all, but I was singing a song, and I saw Tawana and her three friends coming towards the store, and I saw Tawana, and she had on a all black, denim outfit with a Colorado at the time the style hockey jersey on, with the bob haircut with the one side cut lower, higher, lower, higher, whatever the beauty term is, higher on one side than the other side. And man, when I saw her friends. I appreciate her friends, but I said, "Oh my gosh, I got to talk to her." So I held the door for her, as her actually for all her friends walking inside of the store. And I'll never forget three girls: Tanya, Tawana, and Trish. Right, but Tawana is the one that got my attention. But as she'll tell you, she wanted nothing to do with me.
Well, first
But
of all,
but
I'm impressed that you remembered the day, the time, what she wore, the hairstyle, right? Right. What was the song you were singing? Do you remember?
it was I want to say End of the Road. It was
What
Boys to Men,
in the
Boys to Men in the Road. I don't know if it was on or playing, but I was just singing it being me.
well, that was the
Me and my college
that
friends,
was the end of
freshmen.
the road for you, right? You found what you were looking for, right? All right. Um, can you recall your first words to her?
It was just the name drop for me. It was just I kept going over rehearsing the names: Tanya, Tawana, and Trish. Tanya, Tawana, and Trish. And that was just for me. It was just trying to remember all the names. I'm like, all T's, okay. So it was just the name drop. It wasn't like at that moment I tried to kick game at that moment, because that's a whole nother conversation. But at that moment, I just saw her friends, but I really was interested in her, because again, that moment I was mesmerized. And I'll never forget, because it's current, a song that plays, and it kind of takes us back. And the song is a PJ Morton song, and it talks about, "I'll never forget the smile that was upon your face." And I genuinely mean that. There's two things I love about my wife: is her smile, and just the way she genuinely cares for people, which is amazing to me. My mother had a beautiful smile to me as well. So that smile my wife has, it just blows and still blows me away.
Wow. Okay, you getting points. I gotta let Robert go. See, I mean, I can't compete with that.
Yes.
All right. Um, now, Mr. Wana, he opened the
Yes.
door. He saw the three T's, right? He saw the three T's, and according to him, wanted nothing to do with him. Take us through
Mhm.
that moment.
So I got to college, freshman. My sole purpose for being on Providence, Rhode Island, and Johnson and Wells was for education, right?
It was mine
I,
too. Mine too. Me too.
you
Me too. Me
know,
too.
I wanted to come to school, get my degree. Didn't want anything to do with relationships or what have you. I've experienced relationship in high school, and I'm just like, you know what? Pause. End of the road for me on that, right? And just go straight head into books and all that stuff. And I don't care what boy, what young man comes my way. Me and the books are going to be, best friends. So that's why I didn't want to have anything to do with him. However, um, this young man, these three guys, Cosby Show was, a thing. It was a household favorite and all those things. So when they were introducing themselves and he introduced himself to us, his name was Robert. So instantly, me and my friends, we think about Vanessa from the Cosby Show and how she was just over the head, head over heels for her boyfriend, Robert. So it was just like, that was a tease for me, for us just to say his name. And not many people, um, our culture anyway, there weren't a lot of Roberts around, outside of Cosby Show, that I knew of anyway. So that was just nearing and endearing for me to remember him. And then when he opened the door for us to go in, that right there was like, oh wow, we can treat it like something special here from Robert. And that's what kept me wondering, right? That's what kept me, although I wanted to be focused, I was willing a little bit to dabble with being focused or losing a little bit focus, you
Right.
know, and getting some more nuggets from this young gentleman that I came across.
Okay, so he
So
won you.
yeah.
So what was the day that won you over? Was that the day that won you over, or was it a subsequent day that he sent you
No,
flowers? He showed up well on the first date. What was the day that said, I kind of like this guy?
the day, and I'll never forget that won me over was it was we were getting ready to go on Thanksgiving break for go back home, and my birthday is November 24th, so around Thanksgiving. And this young man, he came, he brought me flowers and all these kinds of things, and we didn't officially create, our relationship or establish ourselves as being a thing, right? But he brought me these flowers. I don't think I've even ever experienced that, and again, I've been in relationship, but he brought me flowers, and he was just a gentleman. He used to sit around and listen to my concerns. My mom was sick at the time, and I don't know him from a can of paint, but I remember sitting on the floor crying and just talking to him about my mom, and he would just be there listening. And so he bought me flowers. Um, for my birthday, we were getting ready to depart. It was a 2 week break, and those were the longest 2 weeks of my life because at the time, and he knew about that other boyfriend that I was breaking things off with or whatever, and I was concerned that he would think that you know something was going to just shift and take us apart, and it would never be
Right.
us be a thing. So those flowers, his gesture, his demeanor, his ear, all of those things before I took that 2 week break to go back home, and him go way down to Delaware and me back to Connecticut was the thing that just really turned the light on to say, yes, I wasn't being proposed to or any of those things, but I said yes to the possibility of not being so focused like I was on the books. Not that I'm young ladies, don't get me wrong. Yes, stay focused on your educational goals, but I just realized that I had something um, that was that I should never let go of.
But
So
there's a story to that piece though, Kev. It's a
here
story
we go
to it.
with the caption.
No, no, no.
I'm
It's
listening.
it's meaningful. I want to tell you why. I want to tell you why. So I was surprised, and it's not that Denzel Washington or was who's the Coke 45 guy before Denzel Washington? Who was it? Billy
Oh,
D. Williams,
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
That's right, Billy D. Yeah.
Yeah, so it wasn't that. So for me at that moment in my life, I hadn't been rejected by a female, and it wasn't like it was harsh. It wasn't like I want nothing to do with you, leave me alone. It wasn't like that. I just but she wasn't Tawana wasn't interested, and I couldn't figure out why. Because as you mentioned, Kev, I've always cared about my style, cared about making sure I was always with a haircut, and I was in the military at the time as well. I was always,
He was sharp.
I was always concerned about that particular aspect of me. It wasn't often that, it's not that I'm not talking about have my way, but it wasn't often that I was rejected, if that makes sense.
You were you were
So
you were
I
con-
began to,
you were confident.
was
Like
that,
you were confident.
I was, I guess you can call it confidence, to an extent. To an
Girl,
extent. And I'm gonna tell you what I mean by that.
Okay.
girls were always trying to get with Rob previously, right? And he didn't have to work hard to um to have someone if he wanted to.
Right. So it wasn't like it was confidence. It was just that it was never, it wasn't like a whole lot of effort for me, which was interesting for me, right? Even prior to coming to college, on campus, and Tawana can tell you, on campus in college, it kind of carried on the same way. But I was interested in Tawana, so much so I did research to find out what dorm she stayed in, and her good friends to this day, we were still became really good friends because of trying to figure out through her friend where she stayed, who she was. So what happened was, leading up to the flower situation, through the process and the pursuit of trying to get Tawana's attention and doing different things, spending time and talking to her, in the pursuit of trying to get her attention, I fell in love with her, right? Because it no longer was a mission to get her attention. I genuinely cared about her, and I cared about her experiences. And in just trying to spend time, and just, it was even stuff like, I'll walk you to class, let's meet here for lunch, or meet here for whatever. And I would just want to just be, it was cool to be around her. So even though she was rejecting me, she was never rude, never leave me alone. It was never like that. It would just, I knew that she had different situations going on, and I really became concerned for her well-being. And in that pursuit of being concerned, I really fell in love with the person that she, absent of the smile, absent of her swag, absent of her dance skills and all that kind of good stuff. Two things happened for me. I was also in a place from a spiritual perspective where I was trying to escape and run from what the calling that God had on my life, right? So I was trying to find out who this thing called God was, and I would spend time on Sundays, walking to church, absent of the parties and stuff like that. And in that moment and season of my life, I started caring more about people, right? And as I learned through caring more about Tawana, I found out about her mother not being well, and also her goals, and wanted to be in college, wanted to finish college. And I really just wanted to just be around her. And I wanted just to make her smile. And so just knowing that what she was going through was significant from her mother's perspective, I wanted just to make her smile. I wasn't interested anymore in a relationship or dating her. It was no longer about that. It was just trying to really be a good friend. And whatever was to come out of that, I was good for that, was down for whatever.
You said so much. I got like 20 questions, but I can't ask all 20. All right. You said a
One at a time.
lot, and I want to ask you about um, the spiritual journey that you were on. I want to talk about the pursuit um, that we men, have a natural um, tendency to. We love the hunt. We enjoy the pursuit. Um, and I want to talk to you about all of that, but um, I think I'm gonna start with, because I got some other questions that I want to get to. I don't want to keep you too long, but um, I think I want to talk about your spiritual journey that you were on, and God, and God's place in your life, and what that was. Okay, um, and as an individual, you know what I mean. And of course, I'm sure it came together as a couple. But what was that like for each of you as an individual, knowing God, on your journey, learning about this spiritual journey, and appreciating others at the same time.
Can I go first?
Oh yeah.
All right. So I for me, it's been a very a very interesting one. So Rob would talked about how he never, didn't ever have to really feel rejection or anything of that nature. And then I felt the same way as well spiritually, coming from my background, entering to a place or meeting his family, um, and so forth and so on. And because we had different, not very different religious beliefs, but just what's the word? Different. So I came from a Methodist background, and Rob's family was apostolic. So some of the beliefs were just slightly different, and I felt like in the beginning of things, where everybody loved Tawana, nobody hates Tawana, or nobody was like, oh, who's this person and why anybody, or any of those things. Um,
except my mom for a moment.
except Rob's mother, and I couldn't understand it because I'm just like, it's me. Like I love God and all of these things, so forth. So with that rejection, if you will, like Rob had mentioned, I found myself in a place of almost being like Ruth, um, and following Naomi. I learned later on in my life that she was my Naomi, for getting to know things and getting to a spiritual place for where I would be right now. Because I literally did. I can, as we mentioned, I came from Connecticut, so as we did decide to marry, and I left my home, all of what I knew, um, my parents, my everything, um, to come to a place in Delaware. I really had to trust the process and trusting God, and I trusted the God in her, although I didn't understand some things at the time, but I really trusted God for enough for my life to trust this process. So I often, from that point, and just looking back at the experiences that I've gone through and how I've even grown in my relationship and understanding a lot of things, and how God has kept me through a lot of things and taught me a lot of things. It was through her example. It was through, I mean, literally for where I am today. I wouldn't even be in education, um, had it not been for her encouragement, for seeing how I was with children, and I had our son, and she was like, "Oh, you should open a daycare. You're just so good with children." And I was like, "No, no, no, no. That's not what I wanted with the college. I'm a business major. I want to, do things in corporate world, not be a home and stay at home wife." And so, although that's what I inwardly wanted to do, I still trust the process and took that advice and walked in it, because my inner love um is children, people, and taking care of the little ones and helping them, molding them into being who they were created to be, and trying to be, as successful as they can be. So um that was my spiritual walk and my growth in her. That's been my experience, um coming into this thing. It's really helped me see just the path that was laid out for me and my boys.
Mr. Peterson.
Yeah, and that's interesting. Twana talked about the Naomi and Ruth situation, 'cause that's one of the discussion that we actually had talked about today in church. Um, so I grew up, and I want to say a great majority of my life in church, and I've been able to watch people's experiences along with my own experience in the church, um, both good and indifferent, and I'll use that term, indifferent. And so when I went off to college again, joined the army and that kind of good stuff. Well, I went off to college. I wanted to know who God was for myself, but not at that moment, because I'm not going to call it church hurt, but I'd seen enough things in the church, the four walls of the church, which made me question, what is it really supposed to look like? What is it really supposed to be? And so as I'm walking on campus, and I went to Rhode Island, and my goal was not particularly to escape God, but to escape the experiences that I witnessed in the four walls of the church. Because I can't honestly say that I had an individual relationship with God. It was almost like, I guess, almost like a game, so to speak, because I learned to play the game of church. That's a whole nother conversation. But as I walked the campus again, that same strip in Weybosset Street, I'm walking, and the car pulled up next to me, and the man in the car said to me, and it was a teal blue Ford Escort, and he said to me, "Hey man, are you Rob Peterson?" I said, "Yeah, man, but I'm not from here," and I was surprised that someone knew who I was. "Yeah, man," he said, "I was told to look after you." I'm like, "Well, who are you?" "My name is Andre." I said, "Andre, man," I kind of kept it moving. He said, "Man, nah." He said, "Oh, man, I want you singing in the gospel choir on campus." I said, "Nah, man, I'm not singing in nobody's choir." Because for me, although I didn't have a tight relationship at that moment with God, I also had a reverence of God, a fear of God, where I knew I was never going to be the one to date, never be the one that was going to play with God. Meaning, if I'm on campus doing all kinds of worldly things, right? Because my parents went around, I'm grown, and I'm not going to sit and do all kinds of worldly things, but then sit in the pulpit in the choir on the next Sunday morning. That just wasn't me. So I told him no. I rejected that request. However, he never left me alone. He was still just wanted to be a friend. "Hey man, listen, I'm here, look out for you. I'm from New York. I went to college here." So I had it in my spirit. I still had, I wanted to still be a part, again, just the reverence of God. From a traditional perspective, Sunday morning is for church, right? So no matter what I was doing all week long, we had class Monday through Thursday. Thursday through Saturday, I was doing all kinds of crazy stuff. My campus, other campus parties, you name it, I was there. But on Sunday morning, I got up every single Sunday morning, took a shower, put my clothes on, and I walked to a church that Andre had suggested to me. And it was in another part of Rhode Island. I would know, and Rhode Island was cold, y'all, cold. I would put my stuff on, and I would walk to church every single Sunday morning. Then whenever we had a little church stuff on campus, I would go to little church events on campus. But I was always, I never asked for a ride, never wanted to get to know anybody in the church. That would just, again, I wanted to be in church on Sunday morning. And then, just like as I mentioned to you about my wife, in the process, in the pursuit of trying to get her attention, I fell in love. And the same exact thing, in the pursuit of trying to find something from a spiritual perspective for myself. In the pursuit, I fell in love with how much God loved me and cared about me. And I couldn't articulate it, still really can't explain it, but I fell in love with the love that God had for me, even in my, and I'm not going to say there's no big sin, little sin, but even in my youthfulness at that moment, that and a lot of sin involved. God still saw it fit to love me enough not to let me fall, let me go too far, or let me go. And by giving me this wonderful person like Tawana and my wife to really care enough for me, and people are placed in life for a purpose, right? To care enough about me where I felt like I had something to strive for. And in that process, the journey continued, and me trying to figure out who God was, and still the relationship, who God is in my life for the present moment. And the guy Andre and I became really, really good friends throughout the years. And he's never, and I did ended up, later on, trying to sing in a gospel choir and that kind of good stuff. When I got serious about my relationship with God, still some hiccups along the way. But that was the beginning of the pursuit of me having, again, back to that term, individual relationship with God, to know God for myself and not the parents that not the God that my parents knew for me.
Wow. How would you think? How do you think, if you can describe into words, God's place in your marriage, and how has that helped um, the two of you overcome natural things, whether it's an agreement or a circumstance, How have you been able to overcome that? Um, and with God's assistance and help and knowledge of what you know and how you know Him. It is, it's my position that um, we can't do it without Him. Well, I'm gonna
Mhm.
say I can't do it without Him. You know what I mean? Um, and so as I listen to your story, I'm thinking about the others who are listening to you, who will hear your story, and I'd like for you to speak to them through your story.
I would say the two words is ultimate foundation. Ultimate foundation. I mean that with everything inside of me. And the reason why I say those two words is because what I didn't realize, and Twana can speak to it more, and it wasn't until several years later, I didn't realize that anyone was watching me get up on Sunday morning and walk. And Twana can tell you, walk probably a mile maybe through the projects in Rhode Island to get to this small store, storefront church. um, I didn't realize that people were watching because several years later, after we had already been married, this was the first time I found out when Tawana was called up to introduce me to do my initial sermon. At that moment was the first time I'd heard anyone say, "I here's what you did, and I saw you do it every Sunday morning." I didn't know that. And even today, I don't know if any of my friends knew it because I would, as it was normal practice for me, I didn't tell anybody, didn't ask anybody. I would get up, take a dress, and I would go to the church. I would come back, we would go to our normal Sunday dinner with my friends and my crew. And we'd do it as if, my morning didn't exist. And so it has become so our individual relationship with God has helped us to understand what it means to be a husband and what it means for Tawana to be a wife. Um, and because there's no specific book that's written that's entitled Rob Peterson, here's how you become an effective husband, not good, an effective husband. So through the journey of our relationship with God, God will give you every answer that you need to be an effective human being in the relationship. And I take that serious. I can't, yes, I'll do whatever. I'll run in front of a train for Tawana. I'll do whatever I can to make sure my wife's taken care of. The one thing I cannot do is have a relationship with God for her. I'm going to cover her. Absolutely. If she struggles, I'm going to cover her and she'll cover me. But I cannot put her on my back and carry her into heaven.
I love what you said. Effective, not good, effective. I
Mhm.
think in today's society we miss that. I think um, both men and women want their partners to be um, not just good but great, not just great but better than, not just better than but more than. When effective, effective gets you
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
Effective is caring. Effective is being there. Effective and taking everything into account. I think that's great, bro.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep that
Mhm.
one. I'm gonna keep that
Yeah.
one. I'm gonna share that one.
He had
Uh,
that.
uh, can I use that one? You know,
Hey, man,
Absolutely.
it's
Right.
yours, man. It's
Spread
man,
yours.
the love.
I ain't good, but I'm effective. You know, effective is all you get today, man. So, it, listen, my driving might not. I'm gonna preach for a second. My driving may not be good, but it's effective. You know,
It's
Yes.
effective. It gets me point A to point B, man.
it's
Yes.
effective. The food I made may not be good,
But it's
But
nourishing.
effective,
yes.
but it's effective. It'll get you
It's
there. I ain't
nourishing.
say it was good. It's nourishing. It'll get you.
Yeah.
It's just some grits and eggs, but I got you. You know, I think that's great. Before we let you go, I got just a few more things I really want to touch on. One is, and I really want you to use your story to speak to someone else. A time. in your marriage when you thought, and maybe you didn't, and if not, tell us why you did. But when you thought, I'm not going to be able to do this. This is rough. I may not be able to get through this. This is a little bit too hard. I'm not sure. You know, I don't have her attention. I don't have his attention as much as I felt like I used to, or a circumstance where the both of you had to fight through it. You know, it took the both of you to get through that. Um, how'd you do that?
You have something.
Oh, you can talk. We can. You got something special you want to talk about?
So I think of I was trying to think about situations or scenarios um, that can be most effective in people, recognizing that humans, you go through different things and working through it together, you win, you come out in a better space. And so um, I just think about, and I don't know, I know I can recall my husband's words, feeling saying he did not know um, if what where we go from here or what have you. And this was Facebook, at the beginning of Facebook when it first came around. And I think we were at a stage and said, Facebook can be, great, and then it also can be terrible, which still is the same. But as it was new to us, I know what we talked about, just the previous relationship that I had prior to knowing Rob, and all those things. And so years has passed, and our marriage years have passed, and all this stuff. And then friendly Facebook shows up, and then other people, show up in Messenger and all that other stuff. And so,
All up in your feed.
yes, just like
I got
all of that. And so that certain person that I had dealt with in the past showed up, and tried it, what have you. And me being the loving person that I am, and just trying to, knowing that I'm not interested or what have you, just entertain some things here and there, but nothing major like that. However, I think there was an email that was seen or what have you, and you can say all the stuff that you want. In my opinion, you can say what you want to say, da da da, but it's not going to have an effect on me. There was one conversation, and it wasn't a big deal, so I didn't worry about even having a conversation with Robert about those interactions or anything. They sure that there was nothing, but Rob happened to see one thing, um, one form of communication that came about where this gentleman was, and I'm, for lack of a better term, slandering um, him or what have you, and he didn't see a response from me that defended him. So that caused a huge, uproar for us.
I'd have been mad
Um,
too, Rob. I'd have been mad too.
Hey man, listen. I was mad at the entire world.
I'd
I
have been
was. I
mad
was.
too.
But here's what I was mad. I was mad again. Young in marriage also. I was mad because at that moment I felt like she didn't defend me, right? And that wasn't the case. I was like, wait, this dude said this about me now, and it's no, it's actually a bit more detail to the story. This person I really just did not like, period, right? And that's what I can tell you. Like when I ride for somebody, if I'm your boy, your homie, I'm going to ride for you all day. That's just me. And in the process, of course, us being in college early on, and me being on Tawana's side, even with this same person. Um, so now we fast forward, we married and we happily married in life, and now this person's still talking crazy out of the blue. And I felt like, and Twana, like you said, ignored the conversation, wasn't engaged in the conversation. But this dude saying crazy stuff about me, and Twana did, I felt like at that moment you didn't defend me. And not only did you not defend me, you saw this person in passing, right? In passing, wasn't like a scheduled meeting in passing. And while we're visiting, in Connecticut, and everybody knew about this whole scenario and seeing this person, and nobody told me that we saw this person around the way. So
Mm,
I'm mad at Tawana. I'm mad at Tanya again. Her friend is Tanya, right?
I'm mad too.
Listen, I'm mad. Everybody, hold on, wait. Everybody knew but me. Like, what is going on?
I'm mad at you too,
Right?
Tawana. I'm mad at
Man,
you.
I was hot, right?
And that was
And
20
so in
years
that
ago. I'm
moment,
mad too.
yeah, listen. I was hot at that moment because we learned a lot through that particular experience, right? And at that moment, I was so upset because I felt like that, and it wasn't the case that she didn't defend me. And not only did she not defend me, I felt like a person stepped into our territory where we're trying to figure out this thing called marriage. And everyone that surrounded us, who I consider my close friends or our close friends, they also didn't share or defend the experience as well. And there are many moments in the relationship where you face an experience and you're not quite sure again like how to navigate the experience. And it's very easy at that moment to say, you know what, to never, because there's certain things that makes it difficult. It's not always what people do sometimes, is how they make you feel when you go through the experience.
Wow, that's me.
And you know what I mean? And you don't ever want that feeling again. So you try to escape the feeling that you experience in those particular moments.
So, how did you, and you may have already said it, but how did the two of you get past that and that it was no longer a concern for either of you? How did you console the other one? How did you build confidence again? How did you rebuild the trust? How did you ensure that, hey, listen, my husband, my wife will never have that feeling again?
Mhm. I know I can say for me, and seeing how that just played a significant question, like, because again, he didn't see anything else but that one little segment. So of course I defended
Uh,
my
wow,
man
tough, hus-
and all of those
tough
things, but
husband.
just trying to just what, bye, be going with you, and whatever the case might be. Um, I for myself vowed to never allow something like that to be part of my story, right? Never to allow my husband to feel such a way and feel like I wouldn't defend him or any of those things. So, talking about it and continually talking about, our feelings, continually checking in, and just doing, right? For him, doing for us, and continuing to create space for insurance. I know for me is what I did. Prayer, of course, you know, individually, once again, because, you know, things can try to, even just to give him that confidence and knowing that there, you have no worries, and allowing him to have the space of um, getting through his feelings. Like, I can't change him. I can't make him feel a kind of way, but I can just show, right? And do what I can do to to be present and to be what I know I need to be and what I would not allow to take place anymore. Once you know better, you do better, right? So that's the stance that I took place. I'm not sure you can share your part.
Yeah. So for me, a couple of things I learned about Tawana, and it was actually we had a lot of different experiences, major experiences in that moment. Not in that span of a couple of months and couple of years, a lot of different experiences because I remember the house we lived in at that moment. Um, Tawana allowed me to have my feelings, right? She allowed me to have my feelings and allow my feelings and articulate it, and not just articulated, but showed that my feelings were valid, right? She never put me in a space where like, why do you feel like that? Like she allowed my feelings to be valid and allowed me to explode, right? And I did explode. And in addition to that, who I was, my default setting really set in. And Twana can tell you, I'm a very reflective person, right? Every experience that we face, and whatever it might be, whether it be work, whether it be marriage, I'm always reflective on how what did I do or what could I do different in this particular moment and experience. I did not enjoy my wife being that upset because I was that upset. I didn't enjoy that
Mm,
moment of seeing her being upset because I was so upset. And
right.
she allowed me, and I learned in that particular moment, I also stopped something in that moment.
Right.
In our relationship, I can share with you that I wasn't violent, but I was mad,
Mm-hmm.
right? I
Mm-hmm.
was mad, and she can tell you when I get mad, I do stuff, meaning I clear a whole table off.
Right.
I throw stuff across the room. I'll never put my hands on her. You know, guys are a little different, right? A little different. A little angry streak.
Yeah,
Um,
we gotta throw something, man. We gotta pick
yeah, like
something.
so. I mean,
It's
I would throw
testosterone,
stuff.
anger. I
You know,
got
I would do stuff like that, and I realized at that moment, being reflective on how mad I was at that situation, how also dangerous that situation was because I was mad. So Tawana had never done anything that would ever make me question trust. So it wasn't particularly about trust. It was about the protection aspect. And there's people that's in your circle that also trust, right? To defend and protect my honor because I can't always do it for myself if I don't know, right? So talking about it wasn't particularly anything to forgive because she didn't do anything. But the question was, what in the world can we learn from this experience in order to move forward? And that's what kind of gave us the idea of it's not the work. I had to adjust my individual default setting to make us work again as a union. And my default setting was, and she'll tell you from that date, I've never cleared another table because I was angry. I've never punched another wall
mhm.
because I was reflective of, was it worth it?
Ladies and gentlemen, I've known Rob and Tawana for many years, and I'm going to tell you personally, I couldn't imagine Rob being angry at anything or anybody. He's so cool. He's so calm. He is a great listener. You know, he is a. I've always known him to be a responder and not reactionary. You know, he's always had a cool, calm demeanor, and he doesn't. I've never known him to react, but I've known him to respond. You
Mhm.
know, which is much more collective. And when you respond, you can do it in wisdom and understanding and in knowledge. You know, so that's news to me, family. I couldn't have imagined Rob or Tawana. I can't imagine Tawana clearing the table either, but because
I hear
she
you.
has always been the woman in the room. You know, she's always
Thank
been
you.
that girl that she's always been calm as well. She's always been able to see through what's kind of really happening, um, and not just again be too reactionary. She's been the woman, the adult, you know, always smiling, always cheerful, always a pleasant word. And so before I let you guys go, I got two more things. One is I want you to speak to the person, the individual, the couple who are contemplating this marriage grit thing, this marriage journey, who have just gotten married and who are just started this journey. Maybe they're in their second or fifth year of this thing. And what advice do you have for those just starting out? Maybe they just proposed, and can you tell them what's ahead? And for those who are already in it, can you give them some words of encouragement as to how to stay in it?
Go first.
So I said it before earlier on, that individualism. You don't want to let go of who you are, because who you are is who um, your spouse fell in love with. that who you are, who you were when they met you, all of those things that just got their attention, that attracted them to you. Hold on to that, because when you're learning and trying to be a wife, and I'll speak on a wife, and you're looking at all of these examples or what have you, um, and trying to be those, you have to do what's it's nice to see, but you got to put on what's tailored to you, right? Because trying to put on somebody else's outfit, you're not going to be able to wear it the way that they did. It's not going to fit you totally the way that it fit them,
Good,
but you
good.
got to tailor it to suit yourself. So remember to always be who you are and grow together with your spouse. So that's my advice, to any couple that's considering getting into marriage. You are newly starting out and all those things. Just continue to just tailor it to suit who you are, not letting go and growing together as one, um, and you'll be fine.
Great words,
I,
Mr. Peterson.
I love it. I love it, and that's so valuable. Grit, gratitude, resilience, intentionality, intensity, whatever you want to call the I, tenacity. All that stuff is what makes up what you're trying, what you're desiring to master this thing called wedlock. That's why I mentioned it's individual, right? You got to figure out what works for you. And I want to also share what's important is that you don't get to year 5 without going through year 2. You don't get to year 15 without going through year 12 or year 5. You don't get to year 20 without experiencing year 2, year 15, and year 18, right? So it's a journey, right? It's a journey. And through the journey, there's going to be different experiences that you can chalk up just as that, an experience. And one thing that we've never done is there's a couple things that we've never done. Tawana has never, ever, ever called me out of my name, right? She's never called me out of my name. And we desire not to point fingers through our experiences. Everything we go through and we experience, we go through it together, right? Because we decided to remain consistent with never forgetting our marriage vows. And our vows has carried us along through all these years of relationship and just enjoying one another's company. It's okay to have a mutual corner. Listen, I don't like me sometimes, right?
Mhm.
I'm gonna go to my corner and let's recalibrate and we'll come back together again to discuss whatever we're experiencing in the moment. But if you've done those things, it's okay to press the reset button and start over. In addition to that, you must surround yourself with people that's going the same direction with you that you are. If they're not going the same direction as you, please, please, please put your hand up, call a different Uber driver, get in a different car, and start riding somewhere different. Because, as my mentor shared years ago, if 10 of your friends are broke, by default, you're about to become number 11.
Mhm.
So in a relationship, be consistent. It's okay to be loners until you find the one that can support you through your journey. But again, you can't get to year number 30 without going through year 10, 12, 15, and 20. Enjoy the journey.
Wow. I don't think it could be said better. Before we let you go, final thoughts. What do you have?
So I'll share this. We love people, right? We love people. And I will share with you all, don't ever stop. Don't ever quit. Don't compromise on your journey. Stand firm on God's promises that He has for you. And I promise you, all things, not just some, will work together for the good.
I'll leave it there.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed the words and wisdom of Mr. and Mrs. Robert and Tawana Peterson. I hope you found value in yet another friend of the Kirbys. Um, this is been a joy for me. Um, Again, once again, on this platform, I hope to bring you some very valuable people with some fun and some information um, to just add to your life some information you can store in the reservoir of life. Um, and we want to help you with fun and faith and family and finance. I think that marriage is um, key to that. I've always said that marriage was not created here on earth, it is a heavenly institution. It was
Mhm.
created in heaven and placed on earth.
Yeah.
And so I think the most important thing is to consider the creator of marriage and the purpose of it. So I want to again thank Rob and Tawana Peterson for sharing. Please reach out. The Facebook page is there for you. We want to thank them for their words of wisdom. Rewind the podcast, if you will. Re-listen to it. These are people who have gone through the trenches. They have, you know, you don't get from being married at 21 to being educators in your field and being respected, and living, having children, without going through these trenches of life. They happen, but you can also grow from them. You can learn
Mhm.
from them. I think I'll leave you with, there's a great verse in the Bible that says, um, wisdom, with all thy getting, get wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. We thank you so much, Mr. and Mrs. Peterson. Stay tuned for next week. I don't know what's happening yet because I don't know what friend is going to call me yet. All right. So we thank you, Facebook family, YouTube family. We look to see you sometime next week. Our hearts and love and much appreciation go out to the Petersons and their family as well. God bless you. Real good. Goodbye.
Thank you for having us.